So in Legion Remix, open world farming is very strong for any progression you can do in Remix, whether it be leveling a new character, farming bronze, farming infinite power, or even farming some more endgame gear. So in this video, I want to go over a farm that seems legitimately broken in a certain way that will allow you to get a ridiculous amount of pretty much everything we just went over in a very small amount of time, just with a short cooldown. And you are going to be doing this farm on Heroic World Tier. Pretty much any open world farming is only worthwhile doing in Heroic World Tier in Legion Remix. And there's two main reasons for that. First off, if you're leveling up a new character, you just get a lot of additional experience. And then you also have the new affix system. So enemies can just have a handful of different affixes on them. And these new buffed up or affixed enemies just give you a lot more rewards. They can give you more experience, more specifically through all of the different demons these affixes can summon. And then looting them gives you a ton of additional bronze and a ridiculous amount of additional infinite power. You can also get some other items when we're specifically going into the end game, which will help you gear up even more, which we'll go over later in this video. But the reason this location is so good is because there are a bunch of enemies in a small area, and it has a high amount of affixed enemies. There is no other open world location I've seen that has even close to the density of affixed enemies that this location always has. And this isn't just, oh, it can sometimes have this many affixed enemies. No, every time you do this farm, you'll notice the vast majority of enemies you're killing here have affixes on them. And it is absolutely ridiculous how quickly you can get experience, infinite power, bronze, and some other drops from this one very small area. Now, the one really big downside is this is not a hyper spawn location, and all of these enemies seem to have around a 5-minute spawn time. So depending on how quickly you can clear this small area, you may have to wait like 2 to 3 minutes, but there are also some other decently high density areas right next to this that you can go clear to wait for these to spawn. And this is going to be in Azuna, and this is just going to be on one big rock out in the water, and you're going to be farming these seals. And these are pretty high density, as you'll see once you get here. And as you'll see in the footage and the route I'm taking, the amount of seals that are here that are super close together is pretty ridiculous, so super high density. But again, just the sheer amount of affixed seals you get here is absolutely absurd. In some of the runs I've done here, I think close to 100% of the seals at this location have had affixes. I would say it's probably like 80 to 90% of these seals on every run will have one of the affixes on them, which, as you can see, when I start looting these, is crazy. You get so much bronze and just so much infinite power and just so many threads, which the threads is what gives you infinite power, and those threads are also giving you a bunch of stamina, which is just going to help you survive doing anything else in the game. So those are going to be the main things you're farming here. If you're leveling up, you're going to be farming experience, infinite power, and bronze. If you're max level, you're going to be primarily farming bronze and infinite power. But because these are affixed enemies, you can also get Mote of a Broken Time. Now, these are items that when you get 10 of them, you can bind them together to give you a piece of raid loot of any of the available raids, which in Legion Remix essentially just means an epic piece of gear that will always be an item level upgrade for your gear until you get to the item level cap of Remix, which is 740. So anytime you get 10 of these, you just got an upgrade no matter what slot it gives you. And these items can be obtained from a ton of different things throughout Remix, but one of the things being any affixed enemies can give you one of these. So this place having a super high density of enemies with majority of them having affixes means this is also going to be a pretty decent end game farm, because outside of the ridiculous amount of infinite power you get, you can also be getting these Motes of a Broken Time, which will just help you keep gearing up. So if you legitimately just want to park like a bunch of max level characters here and just cycle through them doing this seal farm, you can legitimately progress every piece of power progression in Remix on a max level character just doing this farm. And that is pretty much the entirety of this farm. It is a small rock filled with a bunch of seals that, for whatever reason, has a ridiculously high chance of these seals just having affixes on them. So the vast majority of them you're killing here will just be affix enemies, giving you a lot more loot, a lot more progression, and just a lot more of everything you're searching for in Legion Remix. And again, these do have like a 5-minute spawn. So after you defeat them, just go to the Naga area nearby, or this is actually pretty close close to the bird farm that I went over in my previous video, so you could go over there and spend a few minutes doing that, then come back and clear these. And I have not seen any other farm currently in Legion Remix that will give you this much infinite power in this short of amount of time. Now, obviously you have that short cooldown, but it's still pretty ridiculous in the rewards you're getting for the actual time spent. But that's all I want to go over, so thanks for watching.